Not sure what I'm trying to say there. I'm gonna start again. And that's February done for another year. Did anybody enjoy February? Because I actually really did. And I know that it's the norm for everybody to be very thankful for the brighter days of March and spring, but I really enjoyed February. It's obviously still winter. There's gonna be the odd storm, but the frosty mornings, the odd bright sunshine day is just a treat. And I really enjoyed embracing the last few bits of coziness. I felt like the ability to rationalise being a bit lazy is slowly slipping away from me. However, with that said, we have a whole new month to wrap up. Oh, sorry, where was I? The battery died. That's happened a lot already, and I'm really very new to this. Okay, where was I? The Garden Against Time. Yes, I started this book in January, actually, the tail end of January. Put it down because of Onyx Storm, picked it back up again and finished it this month. This is a non-fiction book, also quite a heavily nature and gardening inspired book. This is actually more of a conversation, I would say. It's a discussion piece. Olivia pretty much starts this book when she takes on quite a prominent historical garden as part of a house purchase, and she's looking to restore it to its former beauty. And I imagine it's a lot of hard graft, to be completely honest, but she uses this opportunity to document the year by way of journal or diary entries, and that's what forms the basis of the book. Within that, she takes quite a few detours to various thoughts about how gardens have changed throughout time, what's influenced them, what they meant in terms of society, power, things like that. And it's really, really thought-provoking, to be honest. Not always in a good way, let's not get into that, but yes. So it was a really, really good book to read. I felt like I learned a lot, and it's just given me a lot to mull over and think about. I mean, at one point, she delves all the way back into the original meaning of the word paradise, which actually was to describe a walled garden, would you believe? I really enjoy gardening myself, so that's probably why. Take that into consideration if you're thinking about picking up this book. The simple pleasures in life, really, honestly. So yes, if that takes your fancy, pick it up. I gave it a 4 stars. I didn't quite gravitate towards it, but I can really appreciate that it did what it did well. Next up, actually I'm going to give you 2 books at once. Next up we have books that I was looking to get to for quite a while, in order, Before the Coffee Gets Cold and Tales from the Cafe. These are 2 Japanese literature books. I've seen a lot about them last year. They're obviously really beautiful, lovely little books. And I had this one, but I believed wrongly that you could pick them up individually, and you really can't. Or you could, but it would be nice to do them in order, I would say. The author does give you all the information you need throughout the book, really, to understand what's going on, but best to just read the first one first, I would say. So these 2 books, I enjoyed them. I found them very emotional. They're essentially a series of human stories, really. Human emotion, stories, regrets, life regrets, everything that might lead a person to want to go to a cafe and possibly travel in time. And yeah, I was expecting them to be a little bit deeper, I think. They're quite surface level tellings of these stories, and they're obviously very short and to the point, which might be why. But I did come away feeling like I want to read a lot more of these kind of books. There is something in books that really make you consider life and how you want to spend it and what the important things are, that sort of thing. And that's what I thought I'd get from these, and that's what I did, just not quite to the extent that I was expecting. So as I say, I would like to read a few more of this style of book. I did enjoy them. As I said, they were really emotional. I've never cried so much. I struggled to rate these books because, as I said, I did think they could have gone a bit deeper, or I was expecting them to be a little bit deeper. But equally, they made me obviously feel a lot. So where do you put them in that? But I did give them a 4 on Goodreads. I think realistically it's nearer to a 3.5. I would pick up the next ones in the series. They're lovely little books to pick up, I would say, in between more fantasy genre reads, things like that. I'm glad I read them. That's probably a good marker for it, isn't it? I'm very glad that I read them. And if people think there are other books that do the same but better, that's very exciting. Next up, I was craving a little bit of fantasy, and all I had in my bookshelf was The Ministry of Time, which was another library request. This was really good. This is a sci-fi book. I don't want to give too much away, but as you can imagine, there's an element of time travel involved in there. Yeah, I really enjoyed it, really enjoyed it. I thought it was really sharp and cleverly written from the first page. Honestly, I think I read the first 1 or 2 pages and thought, yeah, this is going to be a great book. I just know it. And I believe it's a debut novel, so I'm really keen to read more of what this author does. But yeah, I'd really recommend reading it. I'd like to understand more the thought processes and the kind of the aims of the book, perhaps, because I kind of got to the point where maybe you expected the plot to pick up a little bit, and it didn't. It almost did the opposite, or at least it got, you know, its peak was perhaps not to the level that I was expecting. So that detracted very, very slightly, but only slightly, which is why I gave it a 4 out of 5. I did really enjoy reading it. It's one that I was quite keen to pick up again and again and again. It was just really nice to open the book and think, oh yeah, this is really written in such a way that I'm hooked. The writing really hooked me. I'd like to read more of what she writes. Go pick it up, see what you think. Really. So after that, I was truly craving some fantasy, and I did a little bit of a book haul, in fact. I do try to pick up from the library and charity shops and not just bulk buy books that I'm not sure that I'm going to absolutely love. However, saying that, I did, right? Not many, I think just 5 in the end. And the first of these that I picked up was The Crimson Moth. Now, I'd seen this around recently. It was my most recent book that I added to my saved list, my want to read list. I always get that wrong. And I think I picked it up because it was a standalone, or rather the second book's only just come out and it's not a huge series, and I thought, let's just do this one quickly before we get involved in the bigger series that I'm just about to start reading or continue with. This is a YA book, and actually when I was in the bookshop I did think, oh, is it true? God, there's so many of these books that are romantasy books that are YA, and I've read only ACOTAR and the Empyrean series, or the Fourth Wing books in that genre, if you will, and they're quite heavy on the mature aspects of romance, let's just say. So I was thinking, oh, is it truly YA? Is it? I mean, is it a bit much for YA? But actually this book, I would say, it is YA, and it reads very YA as well. I'm a little bit older than that now. I think I've read a lot of YA over the last 10-15 years, being in that particular age bracket, but I think now it's a little bit young for me. Don't get me wrong, I kind of want to know what happens, so I do want to pick up the next book, and I've reserved it at the library if it comes in anytime soon. But yeah, I did think it was a little bit surface level. Even the plot, I thought there wasn't much depth to the world building, the storyline. Not much really happened. It really was a romance book with the guise of being a fantasy book, I think. Oh, that said, I am going to read the second one. Sounds ridiculous, but I gave it a 3 because of that, because coming out of the other 2 series that I mentioned, where everything is so detailed and in depth and you feel it, I just didn't get that with this. I felt like I was reading it, I wasn't in it, which is a shame. But it's being hyped about, you know, everybody's loving it, so it's obviously doing its job really well for others, and it is YA, so maybe I'm a little bit biased being outside of its targeted age bracket. But yes, I'm glad I picked it up and read it, because I would have done eventually. So now it's done. I can get on to the other ones that are on my list. And last but by no means least, I read Ariadne by Jennifer Saint this month. This was one that I actually just finished on the 1st of March, but I'm including it in this because it makes absolutely no difference. This is a Greek mythology retelling. I read Circe last year, really enjoyed it. It's a different author, but really enjoyed it. And it's actually an area of history, or mythology, however you want to see it, that I want to learn a lot more about. So I thought I would start with these sorts of books and then we'll work our way up from there. It's, again, like Ministry of Time, this book had me excited to read it, excited to pick it up, which was just lovely to feel. I really enjoyed it. It was written really well, really detailed. It's the story, as you might imagine, of Ariadne. I don't know how many people are familiar with that. It's probably not too dissimilar from Circe, to be completely honest, in terms of the overall outcome of her story. I don't know how much of it is elaborated or fictionalized on, but if you like that, you will like this. Then she has, I think, 4 more in the collection, or three more in the collection of these, so I'm going to work my way through them this year. This was also on my books to read in 2025, so I've done really well this month. Pat on the back, thanks. This one I gave a 4 out of 5 because I was so keen to be picking it up every time. It was just a book that I really thoroughly enjoyed actually reading and spending time reading. So yeah, that's the last one for February. And that leads us nicely on to March. Let me know if you liked the little short, by the way. I did a version of this video summarising the books in 1 word and with a star rating. As a little precursor to this video, I actually enjoyed making both. Let me know what you think. Now it's lovely and sunny, so I'm going to go outside, enjoy the sunshine, and actually do a bit of gardening. See you later, bye.